hi, everybody. Welcome to the Change Nerd channel. We are excited today to be talking about a topic that is massive personal change, and that is about elder care. I'm really pleased today to be joined by Rachel Rainey and Kurt Wolf. Rachel, tell us a little bit about yourself before we get started.
Yeah, hi everyone. Jason, thanks for having us. My name is Rachel Rainey. I work at Levada Human Performance, and I have been doing change management consulting for basically my entire career. Personally, I am a mom of 3 children and 4 pets. So lots of change constantly going on in my household.
Great. Thanks, Rachel. And Kurt.
Hi there, I'm Kurt Wolf. I've actually also been in the change business a very long time. I've been doing it since 1994 when a partner at Anderson Consulting handed me the Managing at the Speed of Change book by Daryl Connor and said, "Hey, I need someone to go deal with the users. Kurt, can you go do that?" And I was like, yeah, I can. And I have found my calling and have been in the business ever since. I do try to give back to change management. I founded the ACMP Colorado chapter and currently lead a joint task force between the International Coaching Federation and the Association of Change Management Professionals. On the personal front, I'm the sandwich generation, so I got like young adults, 18 and 20, but I also am caring for older adults in their 70s and 80s. So I kind of have change going on both sides.
And in full transparency, Kurt and Rachel and I have worked together on several things for quite a while. And the link to Levada Human Performance is in the channel header. And if you are professionally looking for an amazing organization to come help you and your company navigate change and collaborate with your EPMO, please give them a call. I'm really excited to have them here today because we're going to talk about a non-corporate topic, because as there are humans working at business, humans also experience personal change, and personal change can be overwhelming at times. And if it overwhelms you personally, it's also going to get in the way of the professional. So I'm really grateful that they're here to talk about elder care. In my particular case, both my parents passed last year. And so this would have been the 9th year of elder care that I've done with them, between power of attorney and managing their finances and all those other kinds of things. I guess let's kind of start, like, when did we discover that this was coming on the horizon and that we were going to have to start transitioning into these roles?
I'm happy to jump in. I mean, I think for me, this kind of smacked me right in the face very recently. So I'm an only child. I grew up in New York. I relocated to Colorado about 15 years ago. And my parents moved out here about 10 years ago, really to be closer to my husband and I and help take care of our 3 kids. Recently, my dad had a medical experience. He is okay now, but he was unfortunately very quickly moved into the ICU. And a doctor kind of came up to my mom and I when we were in the room with him and said, "Is it his wishes to be put on a ventilator?" And we both were like, we were shocked, and then looked at each other, and we didn't really know how to answer the question. And good news was he made a full recovery. He's home. He's fine. But I think the big takeaway for me was, I never want to be in a position again where I am asked a question about my parents' medical health where I don't know the answer. I don't know what they want, and I don't want to have to make decisions for them, right? I can make my best guess, but as uncomfortable as some of these conversations are, my perspective is they're critical, right? Because, as somebody is getting into that age or that state, the last thing I want for them is what they want for themselves. And if you don't have those upfront conversations, it just puts an immense amount of pressure on you to try to make the best decision that you can. So fortunately, we didn't have to make that decision. And now coming out of it, we have started having those types of conversations. And while they're hard to have, right, because nobody wants to lose anybody in their life, let alone a parent, it's almost like you have to start having those conversations now. So when that does happen, tactically, you know what to do so you can allow yourself the space to grieve when you have to. Kurt, what about your experiences?
The catalyst for me actually wasn't my parents, it was my in-laws. And because of my experience with my in-laws, this actually helped me with my parents. My in-laws are wonderful people. I love them very much. But what we saw over a period of many years is they just weren't really addressing mortality and not really conscious that they're in their 70s and 80s and not in good health and living on a large property. They operated like they operated in their 40s, where they had lots of time, lots of energy, disposable income, and none of that's the case. And so it actually all came to a head when my mother in law asked for me and my wife to stage an intervention with her and her husband. And we did. And that's actually where I really was grateful for all of my professional skill sets, because I really just started with some questions that we would kind of address from a change perspective. Like, what outcome do you want? Like, what does success look like for you? Do you want to have a say in where things go? Do you want to have a say in your medical treatment? And so just starting it from a very empathetic path where I'm trying to, they have the answer, I'm just helping them come to the answer, was a really great place to start. And in retrospect, I'm also grateful I started with my in-laws and not my parents, because I wasn't as emotionally charged. I could actually be much more rational and calm because I love them, but they're not my parents. And so there was this degree of separation that allowed me to really help them start setting things up and moving things along on a path to set up a trust and figure out durable power of attorney and all of that. So the last thing I'd say, and then we can dive into more questions that really just cracked me up, was so I built this kind of family charter with my in-laws, and then we created this work plan that, and when we were done with everything, my father-in-law, who's a truck driver, was like, Kurt, I had no idea what you did, ever. As long as I've known you, I had no idea what you were doing. But now I get it. And you're really, really good. And that really made my day.
That's always great to hear. It's tools and tips. My sister, we used an Excel spreadsheet to track many of the complicated things that were relative to it. And she's like, I never thought about tracking all this stuff. In fact, I bet we could probably collaborate and market a pre-made Excel spreadsheet that has all the things that you need to put in there, things to think about, powers of attorney, trust, all that kind of stuff. Don't have just yes, you can have a will, but it's like my parents are in Washington State, and it's probate state for anything over $5,000. So it didn't matter that they had a will; it's all in probate. So we could give people tips. Speaking of which, what kind of resources have you used to get up to speed or educated about good elder care? I mean, some of it is the school of hard knocks, but have you talked with anybody or researched anything or found resources that have been helpful to kind of help get through this?
I'd say for me, maybe it's because I'm getting older and finally wiser, but something I'm actually doing now is actually in all aspects of my life. I do ask friends of mine who were ahead of me in various aspects. So I talked to friends who were empty nesters before me, and I've talked to friends who dealt with elder care before me. And so I didn't do this previously, which shame on me, but I am doing it now. And it's been a fantastic to understand from the viewpoint of people I trust and respect what's worked, what didn't work, things that are worth trying, things to avoid, and just getting those experience shares from people who are several steps ahead of me has been really good. I'd say that's actually been the primary source of tools for me and ideas, is actually friends and family who've gone ahead of me.
And I would say for me, I'm not quite, that far down this journey yet, but my dad was very much like Kurt. So he has now prepared, I think, a 7 or 8 tab spreadsheet that really kind of outlines, when he passes away, here's all the things that need to be done for finances, house, medical, just everything.
Yeah.
And so, I've been super appreciative to have that. I think for me, kind of being earlier on in this journey, the first hurdle that I had to really get over was kind of finding the courage to actually talk to my parents about their death. I think in our culture, I think some people, have this fear, right? Or it's like this kind of taboo topic to talk about death. But the reality is everyone is going to die someday. So it's this inevitable thing that's going to happen to all of us, yet nobody wants to really talk about it.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of the first change, I guess, that I had to wrap my head around, is how do I find the comfort and the courage to talk to my parents about this. And I think I love what Kurt said at the beginning around how do you kind of approach this topic with empathy, because it is an extremely emotional topic.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's yet something that's inevitable and going to happen to everyone. So it's like you have to approach it with empathy and emotion, but also kind of see beyond that and move to the rational and to there's some things we've got to figure out.
I think that's a great pivot, Rachel. I've said for years, actually, that empathy is the killer app of change. Change practitioners who leverage empathy, it's the killer app. It opens doors, it opens people, it starts conversation. So having that empathy, I think, is a fantastic place to start. But then as change professionals, once we kind of make that emotional connection and start getting everything out, then we do have those kind of planful skills, like Rachel's dad to create the 8-tab spreadsheet and start marching people forward on getting this things done to make things clear and easy for their survivors. It's actually made me even think about my own situation and that I need to update all that stuff myself. Because the last time I did, I had little kids, and now I don't, and I got to change things up a little bit. I definitely, as I think through what I hope for my parents and my in-laws, it's been forcing me to think like, I don't want to leave a mess for my kids. I want to make it as easy and painless as possible. And yes, of course, they should worship their father on a shrine and have candles and pictures of him forever. But beyond that, I want it to be super easy and as painless as possible.
Yeah, I don't think we realize what happens when we don't leave anything. A coworker of mine, her father-in-law passed away unexpectedly, and there was nothing. There was no paperwork. There was nothing done. And so the amount of work that's had to be done, which actually makes me think of another question. So we have lives, we have jobs, we have roles, we have families, we have responsibilities. What do you do to help yourself stay organized and sane? And maybe what is your self-care routine to make sure that you are in a place to continue to have empathy and don't burn out and don't get irritated and frustrated because of the crushing weight of these extra responsibilities?
Um, I think, in the end, I've realized, and I'm much better about this now than I was previously in my life. But I know that if I don't take care of me, I can't take care of anyone else. Levada's a successful organization to a previous one. And after I left that, I actually realized I was too tied up and too emotionally invested in my job. My identity was my role at that job, and it wasn't healthy. And so with this round, I've done a much better job of just realizing, my role at my firm is a professional role, and I love it. And I've created an environment I want to work in. I've been lucky enough to attract the people I want to work with, like the wonderful Rachel Rainey. But in the end, it's just my professional outlets. It's where I leverage a lot of my God-given skills. I also have many other outlets. I'm very close with my wife and kids. We do lots of stuff together. I like outdoor adventures in Colorado. In fact, I'm up in Winter Park right now and hope to be skiing tomorrow. And I like to read, and my wife and I like to host. We just bought a house where it's easier to host. And so just knowing that I need to invest in these other aspects of my life has made me a much happier, more well-rounded person, and allows me to ride the waves of craziness when any aspect of my life gets out of control.
I want to quick double click on that because in talking with some people who are also in the same boat and taking care of their parents and stuff like that, there's guilt when they go and they know they need a weekend away, they know they need some time away, but yet who's going to be there for mom and dad? What if the what ifs paralyze them in some cases? Like, what if something tragic happens? What if something catastrophic happens and I'm in the mountains or I'm at the lake or whatever? And so Kurt and Rachel, both of you, how would you tell people not to feel guilty about it? How would you tell people it's important to take care of yourself?
It was interesting. I had a somewhat related conversation with my son last night. I just got accepted into this program. He's going to study abroad in Australia next fall, which I'm super pumped about, which means dad, of course, is going to go to Australia next year. And one of the interesting things he brought up, he's like, listen, Dad, I did actually talk with Papa and Nana and made sure that they're okay with me going. And I know that they're elderly and they still want me to go. They want me to go and not just stay here in the States just in case they get sick. They want me to go live my life. And he was really inspired by that. And I share this story because I actually think most of our loved ones would want us to be happy. They want us to keep going. And simply by not going away on the weekend and recharging, not only are you hurting yourself, and you're hurting them too, because you're not your full self. You're not balanced. And they want you to go too. And just by staying, it doesn't mean nothing bad's going to happen. Just like going doesn't mean nothing's bad's going to happen. But we all, every single one of us, need that time to refresh and recharge.
Yeah, I mean, I think my first reaction was going to be, you got to live your life, right? I know that my parents always want the best for me, right? And that's living my life and being happy and being with my family and kids and, professionally being successful. I think they never want me to feel like they are the ones that are holding me back or tying me down. I think I didn't realize that until I had kids myself, right? Because now as a parent, all I want for my kids is for them
Yeah,
to be happy. And so I
100%.
know that that's what my parents want for me.
Yes. Yes.
Um, and the last thing I would ever want is my kids to sit home and do something for me. And so I kind of
Right.
take that feeling
Yeah.
and apply it to my parents, if that makes sense. But I think I didn't realize that until I became a mother myself. Speaking of, here's the little man,
Hey, Hudson, what's up,
Hi.
buddy?
Yeah. And what's his name?
Hudson.
Hudson. Okay, great. Well, that's great. We have Hudson on the podcast now too. So
Now he's
family affair. Family affair. Yeah, I think I think you have to sort through priorities, meaning to your points, you have to take care of yourself. Because it's the concept of the bucket. If the bucket is empty, what do you have to give other people? There just isn't anything there. And you don't want to also become a casualty of the whole thing where your health now becomes compromised and you're unable to do
Yes,
the responsibilities that others are relying on
yeah.
us to do.
exactly.
The other thing is it's all a balance, right? And I think kind of where you put your investments ebbs and flows, right? So sure, I'm going to go invest in myself for a day or a weekend or an hour so I can turn around and invest in others. But there's other examples, like yesterday's a great example. My dad recently had back surgery, right? And so he's kind of hung up in the house for the next several weeks, can't really do much. I had a super busy day yesterday. I had an hour and a half free. And so I made the choice, right? This is a time where I want to go invest in my dad. I drove 20 minutes over to his house, had lunch with him for an hour and a half, drove 20 minutes back, back to back meetings, whatever the rest of the chaos was going on, in my day. But I consciously made the choice. This is an hour and a half. I really want to go invest in him. Versus, this weekend, my daughter and I are going to Las Vegas for a gymnastics meet. That's a time I'm going to invest in her. Versus when I get back, hopefully I find an hour to invest in myself. We'll see. But I think it's, all about kind of choosing which bucket you're going to invest in when.
Absolutely. I think that is a great perspective. And I think you have to also be okay with, you have to determine what level is comfortable for you, because you could go on all sorts of Reddit threads and blogs and all sorts of things in the world where people should say, this is how much time you should be spending with your parents, and this is how much time you should be investing. And everybody's unique and everybody's individual. And in some cases, your relationship with your parents might not be one where you want to invest a lot of time. It's unique. And I think people have to be okay with what best fits their personal values and belief system, because that's going to get you the most out of it. You're going to have to be comfortable with it. You're going to have to be, okay, maybe I can only do 1 hour a week or 1 hour every the week because I have another sick parent, or I have a kid that's doing this, or other commitments that just unfortunately can't work. And I think people have to be okay with every moment is a good moment.
Yeah. And when you have the moments,
That's
make
right.
them count.
Yep.
It's not just the quantity of time, it's the quality too. So be truly present and there, whether it's with your parents or with your kids or your friends or your spouse. Makes a big difference.
Yeah. If you could go back in time and now knowing what you know now and give yourself one piece of advice to help prep for this journey, what would it be?
prep for the elder care journey.
Yep, how to prep for that. If
I think mine would be don't be afraid to have difficult conversations.
I think that's a great one. I think for me, just adding on to it, it would be just understanding that in the end, we all have limited time. I have limited time. My parents have limited time. I have limited time with my parents. That time, we don't know how much time we get, but it is limited. And so to make the most of it at all times. And so not only having the tough conversations, staying clear and current so that you're always in an open dialogue with your folks and you don't have this like baggage of conversations you should have had that just keeps on growing and gets more emotionally charged. The more you can keep that down so it's not emotionally stuff, just emotionally charged topics, the easier it is to have these conversations. And so staying clear and current has been a great practice I've put in my life, and it's really helped me with my parents.
both of those are really good. I would add those to my list of things I would do. Don't hesitate to have the tough conversations, because my parents came to us in 2017 and said, we would like you to manage our finances. And so we could start at seeing drifting before that, and probably could have saved a bit of drama and heartache if we'd had the conversation. But good news is they were able to enjoy a comfortable life. And that's why I asked that question, because we intervened early enough that they could be comfortable. They had very good care. They were taken care of up until both of them passed. The hospice people that helped my mom, I wrote a glowing review on Google, because I hope that all of us can get that level of care when that comes our way. But even the adult family home that my dad was in, the owner was fantastic. In fact, after my dad passed, when we were up there for the service, we took flowers to her, because her level
That's
of
sweet.
care made our lives easier. We knew he was in good hands. And I would say probably do your research too when it comes to those kinds of things, like not just facilities to put them in, but physically go and see a facility before you put your parent there. Make sure that there's a good vibe. Make sure that it's really clean. Make sure that it has the things that you're looking for. I will tell everybody right now, no matter where you put them, you're going to have to manage the people there, because I think that's just how business is in some cases. And they are very, very good people who are very, very busy doing their jobs and
Yeah,
taking care of a lot of folks. And
for sure.
in the case of my parents, they wanted instant help. They'd ring their button. Why aren't they here right now? Well, because mom and dad, they have 20 other people that they're helping.
Yeah,
So they will get
right.
you shortly. But that piece that comes from knowing that they were in good hands is big. And it wouldn't happen if we didn't have developed the empathy to make sure they were taken care of, make sure they were our primary focus and goal, that their comfort was the number one priority. And so that's definitely a big deal.
You know, as you share that, it makes me think one of the things that I've realized is, and I wouldn't put it under the bucket of I wish I would have done things differently. It's more of I wish I would have been more aware of this, and that is as as lives move on and the children go into these care roles for their parents, the parent-child relationship flips, and all of a sudden the kids wind up needing to do some of the parenting and drive decisions and make things happen. And that's a very natural thing and makes sense when you say it out loud, but I didn't realize it as I went through it. So at times where I felt like I would get frustrated with my parents, like, can't you guys figure this out? Or, can't you make this decision? And the fact of the matter is, like, actually their capacity to do that has gone down, and I need to step up and do this. And that's the natural way of things. And so just, I wish I would have a little bit more insight into that now, but at least I got it now and it's helping me today.
Yeah, that's great insight. Thank you both very much. We appreciate you. Thank you for everything.
So, final thing with elder care. You know, I would say this is what I'd share, and Jason, I'll be curious to hear if this resonates with you. It's a lot of work. It's work that comes on top of your day job, your life. It's work that, it'd be nice if it would just go away. But in the end, by leaning into it, you truly honor your parents and show them a level of love that they'll never forget and you'll never forget. It's one of those times in your life that stepping up really pays off. And it is a wonderful way to honor the people that raised you and show a good example for others. And often, like with most things, by leaning in, we get more out of it than the people benefiting from it. So we learn the power of service. And by figuring out our parents' estates, we kind of clean up our own estates. Like there's all these benefits that come by leaning in and doing the right thing by our parents. That's my final thought.
100% agree. I
Yeah,
think it says if you have a servant mindset, if you have honor your father, your mother, if you have high levels of integrity, it shows up not just in your work life, but it also shows up outside of that. And so I had
absolutely.
shared this. So, as the executor of my parents' will, I have certain things that I'm supposed to do. Well, my father was of high levels of integrity. My mother was also of high levels of integrity. I'm documenting everything to the
Yep.
T so that if it was ever audited, they would not find anything wrong. Because to your point, I want to honor their legacy
Yes.
and show what they taught me mattered. And I will continue
Absolutely.
to do that, whether it be
Absolutely.
here or where else we put it. Yeah.
Well, thank you
Kurt,
for
thank you
sharing
so
that.
much for joining us. I really appreciate your
Yeah.
thoughts, your insight. Where can people connect with you if they want to know more?
Feel free to find me on LinkedIn. Just look up Kurt Wolf and we'll connect on LinkedIn. Or I think I'd be happy to share my email after the fact as well.
Okay. Yeah, we can drop it in the show notes. Perfect.
Yeah, that's
All right.
great.
Thank you so
Well,
much. We
thank you,
look forward to
Jason.
having you back.
I enjoyed this conversation very
Thanks,
much.
Kurt.
Have a wonderful day. Bye bye.